this is the harder group is really just another opportunity for me since last year. We've ended up not backing up the talk.
Surefire. Soaking it up. He knows that he's got fans there too.
MSI this year, we're actually the favourite underdog in my opinion. Out of all the underdogs, I reckon we have the best chance of upsetting our group. This is the year where I actually get some results.
Passar do play-in. Eu acho que a meta de todo mundo aqui dentro é esse almejo de play-in. Não queremos nada mais, nada menos do que passar da fase de grupo onde nenhum time do Brasil conseguiu.
そうですね、グループ B の対戦相手どれもすごく強いと思います。特に僕が一番気にしているのはトルコのミッドですね。カンクドバイマムさん。
They're stronger than I expected, but they're not that good to us.
We are here to win. I feel really confident. We are the strongest, like, by far.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany, host of the 2018 Mid-Season Invitational Play-In Stage. Yesterday, Group A, but today, Group B. Here are some of the contenders, the Direwolves and TCL's Supermassive, arriving at the studio for all the action we have on stage here in Berlin. We are the analysts for today. Aoife Schogsborter, joined by Andrew Vedius Day and Berento Raz Mohammed.
Hello
again, guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good day.
I mean, I have to say, outfit-wise, no longer a full suit for Raz, a snazzy tie, and you upgraded to a vest.
I
so
did.
Is this the battle still continuing?
I think that right now, I love the pinch. Really good job there, Raz. I think you put a lot of effort into the tie, looking really swag today.
Oh, wow. You know what? You know, I'm very skilled. No, it's all on him. But honestly, it's all about natural beauty, just one article of clothing at a time.
All right, I see. I pulled out the leather today because I was intimidated by your suit yesterday. But we'll keep track of the wardrobes. That is not the most important thing, though. The most important thing is what is happening on stage. And yesterday, Gambit Esports, well, they came prepared. They started out MSI undefeated, a clean 3-0 for them. Rainbow 7 ended up 1-2. Chaos Latin Gamers surprised fans 2-1. Ascension, unfortunately, from the GPL 0-3, no one on the board, and it's going to need a miracle for them to advance to the next round.
Yeah, it certainly is. Unfortunately for them, their fate is kind of out of their hands now. They need to win every single game, and they need Gambit to lose all of their games, along with everyone else, really, if they still want to stand a chance of making it out of groups.
Not looking extremely likely since Gambit looked so incredibly strong. A 3-0 Raz. How exactly did they do it? Because it seems like it wasn't one strategy, it was plenty of them.
Yeah, 3 strategies for 3 different games. My favorite one being the Nocturne Karthus. Please roll back. If you haven't seen the game, check out the VOD. It was beautiful to watch.
Gambit coming in with a wide variety of strategies, and Lodic, their young player, newest addition to the roster, really stepping up and really coming into his own.
And Gambit doing the LCL proud on day 1. On the other hand, LATAM South KLG, fantastic start for them. 2-1, and they won that LATAM battle versus Rainbow 7, which must have given them a lot of confidence because they went on to win 2 games in a row. Tierwolf in that LATAM battle, he had Audie's number. They were gunning for each other.
Yeah, they were just going at each other time and time again, and it was a game of confidence. It didn't matter that Tierwolf was down 2 kills at the beginning because he kept going, and he was eventually going to be able to take out the match.
Another VOD we have to watch again if you watch yesterday, because the way these guys were just chasing each other was something I've not really seen in competitive
You
play.
could see the rivalry. It was definitely a battle for the best jungler in Latin America, but he wasn't the only standout performer on KLG. Plugo, their mid laner, is really someone that I wanted to talk about because of his excellent performance. We heard from Tierwolf yesterday on the desk where he talked a little bit about how he's very much been a facilitator for the team. He's just kind of like the backbone to someone that doesn't really step up and carry, but here in the play-ins, it feels like that he's really had his opportunity to shine.
And I really want to see what he can do on day 3, just because he has so many champions that he hasn't really played just yet. I remember casting our minds back to the last time we saw KLG in an international performance. He showed us, you know, Vel'Koz.
Very true.
So I just want to see what else he has except for the Anivians.
Well, great job by the CLS and KLG, but that also means that Rainbow 7 from LATAM North really didn't show up as much that we thought they would. We had them pegged as absolute favorites in the group, or big favorites. In the end, 1 and 2, and they're lacking a bit of synergy.
It does feel like that. Their mid-game just feels a little bit all over the shop. Their only strategy seems to be group up and look for team fights, and that's not good enough compared to the well-prepared team and really kind of full-on aggression that we're seeing from a lot of the rosters, things like KLG and Ascension as well.
Yeah, and White Lotus specifically, you could tell that he was rusty going into it. And as well, I felt like they were playing way too slow. You already mentioned that, but it felt like when they had opportunities, they had windows, they were not willing to take it.
Well, all those teams have a day to recover. They'll be back on the Rift on Saturday, rather, because today we have Group B, and Group B is absolutely stacked. Let's take a look at our matches. First up, we'll have TCL's Supermassive up versus OPL's Direwolves, and then followed by CBL's Kaboom versus LJL's Pentagram. Now, before we get to your predictions, guys, tell me, what is the dynamic of this group like?
Kind of feels like Turkey Supermassive sits at the top. We were pretty confident in Rainbow 7 yesterday. I'm a lot more confident in Supermassive.
And look, I'm ready to be surprised. If it brings us games like yesterday, then by all means, but it feels like Supermassive, they're an incredibly well-structured team. They have to be coming out
A lot of confidence in the opening video as well from Zeitnot and Fabulous did. Well, we came to win. There's no two ways about it. And if we look at the configuration of this group, Brazil plus Turkey plus LGL plus OPL is contenders we've seen in the same group a couple of times, and they sometimes play spoilers of each other.
Yes.
So at least they kind of know what to expect, even though with these new teams, you can't really tell what's going to happen.
Feels like there's a bit of rivalry between some of the teams as well. Like we have heard the likes of Ramano saying that he wants to get back into this group and show that we can beat these teams. We're not the same team that we used to be, and that they can put up a good contender again. And it won't be the same performance as last year.
Yeah, what I really liked about it too is the Kaboom members, Chitan specifically, saying that there's only one spot that matters here. It is first place. So they all want to take one name, and that's going to be Supermassive.
Well, let's see who you guys think is the strongest. I mean, I'm guessing that Supermassive will be up there. Your predictions, let's see. Supermassive 3-0. This has me back to yesterday. You had Rainbow 7 3-0. And then let's see where the differences are. Kaboom, Direwolves, and Pentagram. So Direwolves and Pentagram are the only ones that you don't agree on. Why is that? Why is Pentagram stronger in the eyes of Vedius?
So,
I can guess.
I think it's more about the lack of faith in Direwolves. These guys, right, now, they've come in with a lot of confidence in the past, and I just feel that Triple in the mid lane is a big weak point that can be heavily taken advantage of. I feel like we've seen so many impactful junglers. We talked about it from with Tearwolf yesterday. With the introduction of Once onto the roster, I feel like he can put a lot of pressure down onto the mid laner Triple, and I think that's a big avenue for them to build a lead.
You know, Triple kind of reminds me of Scout. If we're talking about EDG, just because he does have some really good games about him. His Talia pick specifically really rings true. He can really get the ball rolling early on in the game, and I think that's where Pentagram lacks their early game. So I do want to see Pentagram either look to combat that, and that's why once we need to see what his pathing is like, because a lot of the times it feels like he doesn't get anything rolling, especially when their bottom lane is doing really well.
We'll have to look out for that in that specific matchup, but TLDR, it's a battle between Brazil and Turkey once again for you guys for the #1 spot.
Certainly feels that way. I'm excited to see what this young Kaboom roster can do. Definitely a bit of a surprise to see them dominate their region so effectively and make all the way to the final. But I don't know if they'll have the same caliber of players that Supermassive would bring to the table.
We'll see if Supermassive can live up to that status that you guys are giving them. And honestly, a lot of people are pegging them as the favorites. I also want to know from you guys, outside of the teams that are very exciting, which individual players are going to light the fire under Group B?
Well, we've got to start with Kaboom, the AD carry, Chitan. This guy is... I think he's definitely a playmaker. He follows in the lines of BRTT, a bit of a hero for the young AD carry, and he has been tearing up a storm in the CBLOL. He's an individual that many analysts and professionals consider the best AD carry in the region, one of the best players in the region, and he's done nothing but surprise and overcome so many obstacles.
And that's why I'm immediately going on towards Supermassive, because just to roll off that one, I think Snowflower is another one just we have to keep track of, because he filled in a really good shoes of Dumbledoge. Dumbledoge wasn't in there. He's the captain of the team. Snowflower comes in with a wealth of LCK experience from a Freak of Freaks, and of course from Jin Air. He is a playmaker in the playoffs, showcasing that he has the thresh hooks ready for you. And then if it feels like he needs to play it back, he can go back towards his Janna pick. So he's incredibly flexible and incredibly solid.
And keeping up with the theme of bottom lane, we've got to talk about Pentagram's AD carry, Yutori Moyashi. The last time that we saw him, he had some very impressive performances performances, even though the team was not able to secure themselves very many wins at Worlds and MSI last year. I feel like that as an individual, he's become more aggressive. He and his new support down in the bottom lane should be able to pick up a couple of early advantages. At least that's what I'm hoping for from this new Pentagram roster. But he's definitely a player that you need to keep your eyes on.
I'm loving it. A lot about the bottom lane again. We saw some highlight plays from Kaisa yesterday. So hopefully we'll see more of that and we'll see what kind of impact these players can make. And we'll see immediately because we're going to start with Supermassive up versus the Direwolves. You guys don't have a lot of faith in the Direwolves. It's David versus Goliath. We say that very often, but it is because traditionally, internationally, the OPL hasn't really done that much. However, regionally, the Dire Wolves have been incredibly successful. They had a perfect record. They didn't lose a series in the regular season. However, the finals versus Chiefs, I feel like it could have gone either way, but the Wolfpack is at MSI.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to get to that point and in a best-of-5 take down Chiefs, Chiefs were looking really good, showcases that Dire Wolves are ready, and whenever they were put behind, that they can take that step forward. I think that's going to be great going into this into Group B, just because if you do start off on the wrong foot, mentality is going to be a big one.
We also, sorry.
I mean, Direwolves as a team, they have won the last few OPL titles, but they still decided to make a couple of roster changes by introducing new mid laner and a new support in Cupcake and Triple. We talked a little bit about Triple earlier on already, but Cupcake is one of those players that I feel has introduced a lot of playmaking into the lineup, and I'm excited to see what he can do on the international.
Yeah, and of course, if we're looking towards the fact that Triple's on the lineup instead of Fantix, there are question marks, certainly, because I would have pegged Fantix to be the better of the two. But once again, Triple, if he showcases that Talia play, if you can get the ball rolling early on, then I do think that this roster can make waves.
Well, the question is, as you say, can they make waves? Because they've been at MSI 2017, Worlds 2017 Play-Ins, never actually did more than being a spoiler. So the question is, with these changes and with the confidence that Surenfire had in Brazil, will we be able to see more than spoilers out of the Wolves?
Well, I would like to, because Surenfire, even though he's turned down the confidence, I know that as a player, he still has it inside of him. And I'm excited to see what they can bring, especially around the bottom half of the map. I feel like that we already talked about King, we talked about Cupcake, and the synergy between Cupcake and Surenfire together. If they're on things like an Alistar or a Zac, or if they're on big playmaking champions, I think there is big room for them to find those advantages in big fights.
And even just talking about King is an incredible teamfight AD carry, so just getting him to that part, I think Cupcake during the regular season has done his role in doing that.
Yeah, King's also mad styling with those glasses, so we'll see him on stage right now. And as said, Direwolves, a tough road ahead of them, and you can say that it starts off really rough as well. They're up versus Supermassive, absolute favorites in Group B. They went 26-2 in the regular season, great run in playoffs, again the champions of the TCL, and yeah, they're crushing it every single year.
Yeah, it feels like every single time TCL is in an MSI, they get to the main stage. Only real or at least you exclude the Gigabyte Marines set. So look towards Supermassive. 2016, when they were in the TCL, when they first started, they were at the finals every single time. So they are the top of the tier in their region.
And that 26-2 record is very impressive because the TCL is considered quite a competitive region, especially when you think about some of the players that have come out there. From Europe, we've got Caps and Xerxes, who are currently sitting at the top of the European ladder, and like GBM and Snowflower right now already competing against some of the former superstars that you have in TCL as well. Really just goes to show how dominant they have been in their region.
Exactly, and it goes to show even more because internationally, the TCL, as you have mentioned, is one of the most successful ex-wildcard now emerging regions that we've always seen, and this is why we pegged them as such a favorite and why we think they will probably take the set versus Direwolves. But if the Direwolves take this, they're going to need to. How do they do it? Where are the options?
Well, for me, I feel like the biggest strength that Supermassive has is their 2 versus 2 down in the bottom lane. Zaynot and Snowflower, not only are they smart players, but their 2v2 laning just seems so strong. So if Direwolves want to get the upset, they need to be investing resources into trying to shut that down.
All right.
Now on the note of 2v2, I think the mid lane jungle synergy is going to be incredibly important for Direwolves. So for Triple, if he gets the Talia pick, and if he also has the back of Surenfire, so they can get proper invades and even impact the bottom lane, that is going to be their ticket to the early game, and hopefully they can hold that firm.
What about top lane, just on its own? Chippies, Fabulous?
I mean, Chippies is always an interesting player because I saw in their finals he had Camille, Fiora, Gangplank banned against him like every single game. This man loves carries. We do have carries coming back into the meta. The question is, will he get his hands on one? I highly doubt it.
Highly doubt it, but we hope so. So it's explosive at least. We'll see what happens. Group favorite Supermassive. They're looking for a flying start over the OPL champions. Let's send it over to the casters for game 1.
Thank you, Shocks. I'm Daniel Zrakos, joined by Aiden Zyrene Moon. We are the casting duo currently known as Zrakos. Every great casting duo needs a name. Zrakos. Feel it with me, Zyrene.
We're going to need to workshop it a little bit. I'll get back to you on
It's a workshop, work in progress, folks. But excited to see exactly how these teams stack up, exactly what's going to happen here for both of these lineup. Today, it's Group B's turn to hit the rip with BAU Supermassive playing on the blue side in our first game. Top lane, Fabulous. Jungle, Stone-Aged. Mid lane, GBM. AD carries, Zeitnot. Support, Snowflower. Coach, Irian. Sub AD carry, Saya Rees. And on the red side, it's the OPL's Dire Wolves. In the top lane, Chippies. In the jungle, Shurnfire. Mid lane, Triple. AD carry, King. Support, Cupcake. Coach, Sharp. Sub mid laner, Get Back. One more time for the lineups on stage today. BAU Supermassive and the Dire Wolves. And Zyrene.
Oh, introduce me too. Thank you.
Zyrene! I'm personally really excited to see a new group because yesterday our analyst desk was absolutely convinced that they knew everything that was going to happen, and they were horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah. I thought the Gambit might be better, and I kind of like talked about that ahead of time with everybody. Nobody kind of bought in. This time, actually, I want to throw another thing out there. I actually think the Dire Wolves will get second in this group. I think the Dire Wolves are actually a little bit better than we suspect them to be, and I think that they're actually going to come out second right behind Supermassive. But this is the game here where you have to pull out all the stops, and that's what I love about it because it's the first game of the group between the two teams that I think are going to top it, and so I expect the Dire Wolves to come out in full force. They know Supermassive are the favorites. They have to be able to topple Goliath, and the way you do that is you pull out the biggest rock you can.
And I want to see what that is. It's a new patch. We've already seen some crazy strategies. Gambit seemingly adapting to every one of their opponents yesterday. And are we going to see the same thing for Dire Wolves? Do they have something very special cooked up just for Supermassive? What's the strategy going to be? And there's so much I think that we haven't seen yet on this patch. I think we expected so much Conqueror top lane. We haven't even seen those champions yet. And I'm wondering, with a guy like Chippies on the top side of the map, is this the game where we see it?
Yeah, potentially. And they're also red side, so they will have the counter pick. It may potentially be in that top side. Fabulous, though, he does play a lot of tanks. When I was looking at their games, Fabulous, out of the 36 games that he played 23 of them on tanks. So really favoring that kind of style so he can support the team. Whereas Chippy's on the other side, this guy is like 9-0 on Gangplank. He's 8-1 on Camille. So really, I am expecting them to pull out something in that top lane that's aggressive.
And I wonder if Supermassive will take the same strategy that we saw from the Chiefs when Dire Wolves played their final, where you just, no GP, no Camille, just did not show up in that series, was never allowed to even hit the pick board, always banned out before really anyone could get their hands on it. And maybe force him onto some of those tanks, because we've seen Chippies on picks like that Poppy. But it's never the same impact that he gets from those carries.
Yeah, and that's what you really have to worry about here is just side lane pressure when you start getting things like the GP, like the Talia. If you can roam down to the bottom side, I think that's where this game will most likely be decided, is Supermassive really like to play to the bottom side. GBM and Fabulous are pretty self-sufficient. You give them any kind of pick, and then they'll be able to deliver. But then on the Dire Wolves side, Shurnfire teaming up with King and Cupcake, that's kind of the winning formula for them. But they all like to shove. They all like to have pressure. The Dire Wolves are pretty relentless.
And we want to see Supermassive. Are they going to give up the lane priority? Will they give Dire Wolves exactly what they want? We'll find out as we head into our first draft of the day. Supermassive on the blue side, Dire Wolves on the red. Kha'Zix, interestingly enough, already taken off the board.